And if you think that's the only way you can screw up a race in Assetto Corsa Competizione, well, watch this film. I found plenty more. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of A Wolf's Wheels. Today is a little bit different because we're going to look at some sim racing stuff. If you're a regular viewer of the channel, you'll know that in amongst the other things that I like to get up to, which is the main real life cars, camping in the motorhome, I've sort of more recently got myself involved in some sim racing. And maybe we'll do a film a bit later on about what exactly sim racing is, because to be honest, it's kind of a bit more than a game, which surprised me, but that's pretty much what I found out. Anyway, what I'm doing at the moment is I'm competing in a league called the 60 Sim Things, and I'll put a link to them in the description below. And that's basically a league for people who are over 60 and want to do sim racing, because there's no doubt about it, our reactions and things get a bit slower as we get a bit older, our bladders get a bit weaker, so we're not really wanting to do 3 or 4 hour races and so on. But anyway, so I've been competing in that league for a little while now. I'm fairly new to the sim racing game, as you probably know, and I thought I'd just show you in this film some of the ways I found to screw things up when you might have otherwise had a perfectly good result, and for whatever reason you do something wrong and things go badly wrong for you. And there's much more to this than just falling off the track, as you'll see. Now, just come back to this point I made about competing in the 60 Sim Thing league. Competing is maybe a bit of a strong word. It's probably fair to say I participate, because I am not competitive in the least, but it's all about having fun, and it's given me a real lot of pleasure and I'm really enjoying doing it. Some of the guys on there are very, very good. They've been sim racers for some time, and in fact some of them currently do, and some of them have previously raced cars in real life. So you know, I'm up against some real quality people there. That's just not an excuse. I'm just not very good. But you know, as I say, it's about fun, which is the main thing. Anyway, let's have a look at this film just to see all the various ways that I've found how you can ruin your race. In this clip that you can see here, I've recently left the pits and have completely forgotten that actually my tyres will have lost a bit of pressure. I didn't do a tyre change in this particular race. It only required a refuelling, so I haven't bothered to change my tyres, but they've lost an awful lot of heat and a bit of pressure in the pits. And as I approached the corner, you can see exactly what happened here. Now, yeah, it goes without saying that this shouldn't happen, just inexperience that does this. But the biggest thing that you learn from this, and maybe the next clip, which you'll see in a minute, is that really learning how to do a rejoin is important, because as you can see here, I make a complete fist of rejoining. I've already lost one place, and luckily there's not that many people competing in the race, but I would have been absolutely pounded on this one. I'm trying to get off the track. I'm just spinning all over the place. So one of the things I have learned is that I really need to practice how to rejoin after coming off of the track. Now, this second track off at the hairpin was actually caused because I lost it on the first bend because the tyres were cold, and I was in the gravel. As I came out of the gravel, the tyres, of course, have got gravel all over them, and I'd completely forgotten about this. And so the tyres didn't have any level of grip at all as I entered the left-hand hairpin, and I just threw it away. Anyway, that's as it is. So we've got ourselves going again, but a couple of corners later, disaster struck yet again. I really couldn't understand at first what had caused the problem here, but as you can see from the film, I managed to nicely take the apex and then hit the curb. No, I hit the grass just after the curb finished, and that sent me into a spin. Now again, what a terrible rejoin. I just couldn't get going. Now the thing is, on this one, previously I'd been spinning all over the place because I was in first gear trying to rejoin and so on, and the back wheels were just spinning. I couldn't get any grip. So on this occasion I thought, well, I'm not going to change into first, I'll leave it in second, and I just couldn't get going out of the corner. This is at Imola, and this corner is called Acqua Minerale. And yeah, it was just an absolute nightmare, and the leader went past me and I was by that point a complete lap down. Earlier in this race I had been pretty well assured of a third place because of various other things that people have done, and for me I had a great qualifying fourth on the grid, albeit only out of 6 people. That's not the point, I got fourth, and for me that's a good result. A few days later I was participating in the same league, and this time we were driving BMW M2 cars at Hungaroring in the rain. And I learnt so much in that race. The big lesson I did learn was, as you can see from what happened here, I had a pretty major and catastrophic off track. I was a bit embarrassed by this because I actually did hit another car, albeit that car was already off track and severely damaged. And in fact, quite interestingly, I didn't get any safety rating adverse movement as a result of this incident, which sort of surprised me. But anyway, the thing I've learned, as you can maybe see from this bit of film here, while I'm following the car in front, visibility was really, really poor, and I was pretty much relying on the car in front to help guide me to where the brake markers were. Unfortunately, Andy in front of me missed his brake marker. As a consequence, so did I, but I didn't realise until it was too late that he'd missed his brake marker. This was the ensuing chaos. I don't think I'd have won that race anyway, or been even on the podium, but nevertheless, I mean, I qualified in 6th, I was running 6th, but at the end of the first lap we were all very, very close, and this incident took place at the start of the second lap. Poor Andy had to go back to the pits. He had quite a lot of damage, but he did rejoin and did finish the race, so it wasn't quite so bad, but I did feel pretty bad. And we spoke afterwards, and all is well. Now, in the league, the 60 Somethings League, in the GT3 class races, such as the one at Imola, you have a compulsory pit stop. Now, during that compulsory pit stop, you have to refuel, but you don't have to take tyres on. And one of the regulations on the 60 Something League is that there's no automatic pit limiter allowed. So what do you mean pit limiter? Well, as you go into the pits, all pits in real life and sim racing, for safety reasons, you have a speed limit set on those pits. Now, within the simulator, you can actually have it set so that automatically as you enter the pits, it will slow you down to the appropriate speed limit. But in this particular league, you have to manually apply the pit limiter. Now, as you can see, one of the things that you can do is get that hideously wrong. And as we can see just in this, the guy enters the pits and he's going pretty quick. And if you just look here where the 50 is and look in the bottom right hand side of the screen at his speed, he's going extremely quickly over that speed pit limit speed. And sadly, as a result of that, the poor chap was actually disqualified from the race. It helped me because I actually gained a place as a result of it, but it's not really how I want to conduct my racing and get my places. I'd rather compete actually on the track. But you know, it just goes to show that it's not just going off the track or how you rejoin that can cost you time. You can actually get things badly wrong in the pits. Now, as I've said, the pit limiter has to be manually applied, and as you can see in this clip, guy goes through the pit limit at the appropriate speed, but for whatever reason thinks he's put the pit limiter on, but as either the button hasn't responded or missed the button, and then speeds up rapidly to about 170 kilometers an hour in the 50 limit, and unfortunately that leads to another disqualification. Now you might think, well, why did he put his foot down? Well, the thing is, when this pit limiter is on, it actually, you leave the car in first gear and you can have your foot hard on the floor and it will not exceed whatever pit limit you've set it at, which in this case would be 50 kilometers an hour. So you would quite legitimately go through where the line is at 50, hit the pit limiter as you cross it, and then have your foot hard on the floor so that you don't go any slower than 50 or 49 point something, you know, all the way through the pits. Unfortunately, as I say, this chap missed the button, or the button didn't respond or whatever, and he ended up speeding, and as a consequence again got a disqualification from the race. And again, it meant I gained a place, but as I've said before, this is not really how I want to get my points for racing. But yeah, that's life. Now again, this is the Imola race and I'm about to make my pit stop, and this is the pit stop that I made immediately before going off the track that you saw earlier in this film. But yeah, the thing is, it's not only just a case of hitting the pit limiter, but as you come along the pit line, you have to stop in your pit box where the stop signs are. And if you get that wrong, you can lose seconds by having to be repositioned by the game /sim so that your car can then have its pit stop performed. I got that slightly wrong, so I probably lost a couple of seconds by not pitting properly. So that's another way in which it's very easy to mess your race up. Well, as you can see from all of those films, there's many ways that I've already learned in which I could cock things up. So what have I really learned? Well, the things I've learned are, you know, you've got the obvious things, so don't go off track and stuff like that. That's fine. But what I really have learned is that when I'm practicing, not in a race, but just on the sim itself, is that I really need to learn how to rejoin better. Is it because I'm panicking and I'm hitting the throttle too hard and I'm spinning the wheels? Should I have the traction control fully on so that I can then accelerate off of the slippery area? I don't know. I'll probably work that one through. Unless you've got any ideas, bung them in the comments below, please feel free. The other thing, of course, is when you do rejoin, you've got to rejoin safely, and I think I've managed to do that. I'd rather lose places than crash somebody else out. The other thing I've learned is if you're running around in the wet, you've got to, even more than usual, run your own race. Use your own brake markers. And if you're not sure, just come off the gas. Because that race in the Hungaroring, I'd have got that 5th place by not going off. The fact I went off, I lost time, etc, etc. Well, yeah. And of course, I would have been closer to the other cars, and the rest of the field were not incident free either, and I might have finished a closer 5th than I did. So yeah, so you've got to do that as well. Another thing that is well worth practicing are pit stops, so you make sure that you can enter as fast as you can and then bang right on that pit limit, get yourself down to the required limit, go into the pits, stop exactly at the right point in the pit box, get yourself lifted up, get yourself down and get out, and don't hit that pit limiter until you leave the pits. Anyway, I hope you did enjoy that quick trip around the newish hobby on Wolfie's Wheels. Please feel free to share it and tell your mates. You might even like to subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. I don't make anything from it. If you do, that's great. As I say, meantime, it just leaves me to say thank you so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy it, and I look forward to seeing you in a future edition of our Wolfie's Wheels, which might or might not be sim racing. I don't know. Bye.